couldn't figure out. Let me try to get the camera. So it always tilts a little bit awkward. Sorry, it's my bald head.
Oh, that's fine. I just got this new computer, so I'm still playing around with it. But I really appreciate you taking a little bit of time on this. I'm trying to figure out how I came upon you. It might have been on Instagram, but I think I saw you maybe put out something on a video, and I was like, somebody needs to hear this stuff just besides from me, you know?
Yeah, no doubt.
On this. And so I've just been completely like pushing my ladies to start intermittent fasting, and everybody always has an excuse for me, and they think there's this magical food. So I thought, I can't get anyone to come on my podcast, so I really appreciate you coming on and doing this.
No problem. Pleasure to do it.
Yeah, so I'm actually in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, but where are you at? Are you in Pennsylvania or Virginia?
Virginia, yeah. Williamsburg, Virginia, the start of it all, I guess, in America. That's right.
Okay. Yeah, well, like I said, I appreciate you coming on and answering some questions, but give me a little background on what got you started on this and where your journey began and kind of where you are now, because I know you've got YouTube and all that other social media going on.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess if we rewind it all the way back, I mean, I've been kind of overweight off and on my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I was real little, I was overweight, and then I found sports, and I got, you know, in really, really tip-top shape. When I was 18 years old, I was wrestling and doing jiu-jitsu, and I was in shape. But I hurt my knee when I was 20, and torn my ACL, and during surgery, I got a staph infection.
Oh, wow.
And that's 22 years ago or so. And so in that process, they didn't know a lot about staph infections. So it had seeped all the way into the bone and everything by the time they had figured out what was going on. And it took almost a year to recover from that. And I couldn't use my leg the same way. I couldn't wrestle anymore, and the weight just started piling on from 20, you know, on up. And man, I mean, by the time I was 22, I was probably 280 pounds, and by the time I was 30, I was 300, and I got all the way up to about 312. And you know, so just like anybody, you get lost in work and you get lost in everything in life. And I had 2 kids, and I knew I wanted to lose weight, and I knew I wanted to be there for them, but I didn't know how to lose weight. And I know that sounds ridiculous. It's real simple, right? Move more, eat less, right?
Yeah.
Well, we've all tried that a million times. And so, you know, and I didn't know what to do. I knew I wanted to do something, and I just was I work in school suspension.
And so, I thought you said you were a school teacher. I wasn't sure. Yeah.
So I'm hanging out one day, and I don't have a kid, so I'm watching Joe Rogan's podcast, and he has Dr. Rhonda Patrick on there, and she's talking about intermittent fasting and time-restricted eating. I'd never heard of it. So I went home, and I didn't say anything to my wife or anything, but I thought maybe I should try this. And so we were going to Vegas 2 weeks later, so I messed around with it. I probably lost, like, let's say 10 pounds. Went from like 310 to 300, and didn't tell anybody I was doing anything, and I was just doing a standard 16 and 8. And we went to Vegas, and by then I told my wife, hey, I'm doing this. And so I ate whatever I wanted while I was in Vegas from noon to 6, whatever. I mean, we would go out to eat twice most of the time, and I came back from vacation and I didn't gain weight.
Oh, wow.
That was a wake up.
Yeah.
That was a wait a minute.
Something's different.
Something's different. I'm not even trying here. Normally you go on vacation, you come back 10 pounds heavier. And I said, I am literally not trying, and yet I'm even on weight. So I had needed another knee replacement. I've already had 2 knee replacements.
How old are you? Are you 40? Or are you 40?
41.
41. I just turned 42. So a lot of the ladies that I work with are a little bit younger than me, and then some are older than me. You know, you've already had a knee replacement?
I've had 2 in the same knee. I've actually I've had 2 knee replacements and a full kneecap replacement too in between. So I had a knee replacement. It wasn't going well. They said it's a kneecap issue, and then they replaced that. And then I saw a new doctor, and thank God I found him. And he said, no, they did this all messed up, and he redid the whole thing. And it was complicated. They had to break my leg. They had to do a lot of stuff, but it's so much better now. But when I sat down with him, he said, your BMI is 50%, buddy, and I'm not doing surgery unless you're under 40. and he said, there's just no way we're going to do it. It was like 30, let's say it was 48%, but close to 50,
Yeah.
And he says, you got to be under 40. And I just gotten back from Vegas, and I said, oh, I got this, dude. I said, see me in 1 month. And he said, okay. So I went back in there a month later, and I had already down like 280 something. And he was like, what in the world? Yeah, let's do it. So he scheduled the surgery. By the time I had surgery, I was 255. And he was blown away. And, it was very neat walking in his office at 185 pounds, after surgery and everything had gone in, and to see his face and just say, wow, So ultimately speaking, I started on a 16 and 8, and then now I eat one meal a day, but it's not something that I think like somebody listening to the podcast that's never done intermittent fasting should jump into.
Yeah, my husband and I do the nomad. I mean, we just did it today. We just got done eating about an hour ago, and like that's our only meal for the day. We're just doing the one meal, whatever. But yeah, so people who don't understand the 16-8, I've been teaching them the basics. That just means 16 hours of no calorie. Doesn't mean you don't drink water. You have a little bit of apple cider vinegar, lemon in your water, that type of thing. But it's 16 hours, no calorie. That can include your sleep time, I explained. Yes, if you sleep 7 hours, that counts as part of that. And then you have that window where you eat. So when you were first getting started with the intermittent fasting, because this is the magnitude I've been trying to explain, how powerful it is, did you just eat what you want, not what you wanted, but did you change a lot of what you were eating in your eating window, or did you change that too, like what you were eating, or what was your formula to get started, or was it just strictly just that window is all you focused on?
I just started out with the window and did nothing else. And I just ate whatever I wanted to eat. And so I would eat at 10, and then I would stop eating at about 6 o'clock at night. It was kind of my deal. And I instantly started seeing results. But what happened to me, and I think this is going to happen to a lot of your podcast listeners too, is you stop getting hungry. So again, 10 o'clock comes around, and I didn't feel like eating. So then I'm saying, well, why am I eating a little? Because I was eating a little snack at 10 and then eating at 12. I said, why am I doing this? And so I pushed to 12. And then once I got to 12, I did that for a very short period of time. And then I said, why am I even eating at 12? Yeah. I should just go through my school day and walk during my lunch. Yeah. So I did that. And then I would get home. And then I noticed when I would get home, I'd go straight for something awful to eat, like the snack cupboard. And then I would eat dinner. And I said, why am I doing that? And then it just became I should just eat dinner. And that's kind of where I'm at. But this is how powerful it is, so that, they can understand too. Number one, I never changed anything I ate, and I lost 125 pounds.
That's incredible. That's a whole person.
It's a whole person. My wife, which was small to begin with, the most she ever weighed was 140 pounds. She's never had a weight problem. She, when I started doing it, she said, oh, well, I could do 16 hours. She's now down to 20 hours and been doing that for 20 hours of fasting, 4 hours eating. She's been at it for about 18, 20 months, and she's down to her high school weight of 125 without trying anything different. She's back now teaching yoga and teaching bar yoga and regular yoga, and completely, we're both into fitness now for the first time as adults, which is really weird, but not weird. It's amazing. I love it. But I'm saying, if you'd have told me, look, you're going to go lift weights 3 times a week, I'd have been like, you're crazy. You're going to go walking 15,000 steps a day. No, I will never walk. And here I am, so you just feel so much better.
That's incredible, Chris. One thing I will teach, I can teach fitness. I have a master's degree in health, and I've done fitness assessments. I've always been active. But what I found with me is when things started to change, the more I worked out, the more weight I was gaining. And so I have a lot of ladies that want me to teach the fitness part, but I tell them, if we can't get the timed, I call it timed eating or the intermittent fasting down, and we adjust some of the eating that you're doing, me teaching you the fitness part is a complete waste of time. So do you feel like if someone would have came at you with the fitness part in the beginning of your weight loss, would it just been like, no, would it have been too much, too overwhelming? What do you think?
Well, here's the thing, and I say this on my channel all the time. But here's the thing, 100% believe that you have to fix the weight before you fix the fitness. And the reason I say that is because I can't tell you how many Mondays in the last 20 years I got up saying, I'm going to the gym today. I'm going to change what I'm doing. I'm going to get in there, and how it never, ever worked. How I would get there and I'd make it a week, and then I'd feel sore or I'd feel bad. And what you don't realize, and this is me being as nice as possible, when you're obese, you're sick. And when you're overweight, you're sick. You don't know you're sick, and society doesn't like to call you sick, but you're sick. And you don't even know you are until the weight starts to come off and you feel different. And you have a level of energy that you didn't have before. And once you can get past that illness, the weight room stuff, the fitness stuff, it's going to come. It's going to come full circle because you're going to have so much energy you don't want to sit around. You want to get out and you want to move. So for me, you know, the first thing, if I was starting somebody from scratch today, what I would say was, look, just don't eat after dinner. Let's just start there. Let's just finish your dinner and don't eat again until you wake up in the morning. That'll get you 12 hours. And 12 hours doesn't really do anything, but it gets you used to not eating that little bit after dinner type thing. And then you start scooting your breakfast back. You're going to be golden because the hunger is going to go away. And it's going to, the reverse of that, you realize that we train our bodies now in 2020 the wrong way. And
I agree. Absolutely agree.
Yeah, we focus so much on constant nutrition. Like, okay, so yeah, the best thing to do is eat 6 meals, right? So what? Like, no, your ancestors didn't eat 6 meals. We didn't evolve to eat 6 meals. We're eating too often. And our body needs it because we're giving it to it all the time. And when it doesn't have it, it's like, oh, it's a hiccup. But once you get over that hill, you realize I don't have to eat. It's a whole new world.
That's what I've experienced too. And, you know, I get ladies that are having trouble, like, I can't take the creamer out of my coffee. I can't give that up. Okay, well, if you can't give it up, then just stop eating. Like you said, you know, you quit eating at a certain time in the evening, and that's what I loved about the window. You can move it around. So if you want to start eating at 8 o'clock in the morning, just be done in the middle of the afternoon, you know, and that's kind of what I like about it. And I like what you said, because I really feel like the veil gets broken at some point. And I explain, like, how I teach it is at some point there's that control issue you're having with your body. Your body has had the control for so long, and then at some point, as you do this, your body gives up. And that's where I feel like at that point the energy changes, the clarity comes, and the perspective completely shifts for people.
Well, you know, it's interesting too. You mentioned that with the time, like switching your window. My uncle came over when I was about 280. I had lost, you know, a good, you know, I don't know what that is, 30, 35 pounds, something like that, maybe even 40. And he came over to visit me after I'd, you know, getting ready to do the surgery. And he said, man, you look great. And I said, you should do it too. And he's about 68 right now. And so he says, well, breakfast is my favorite food. And he said, I don't want to give up breakfast. And I said, well, then give up dinner. Well, right now he's 2 years in. He's 160 pounds. He's lost about 30. His A1C, blood pressure, his cholesterol all came down. He's feeling like $1 million. And my dad has been doing OMAD. Tell me if this isn't cool. My dad started doing it about 3 months after me. My dad's a pharmacist and thought when I first told him, you're going to go into hypoglycemia. Didn't happen. Then he started getting more interested, started watching my videos. And the next thing you know, my dad's into it. Well, he's all the way down to 155, which is 5 pounds lighter than he left the military during Vietnam. And he can't even do OMAD anymore. He feels like he's under his natural body weight, you know, a BMI and everything. So now he's doing 3 days of lunch and then 4 days of OMAD. So he eats 3 times with his friends for lunch. So it just goes to show that, you know, it's really not as difficult as people want to make it once they just get through the little hump there.
I tell people, I said, I said, you're going to feel like you're cheating the system after a while, because you're going to do things, you're going to be like, but I'm still losing weight. And I know with men and women, it's different. I know women say, oh, but men can drop weight. You know, women have reproductive issues to deal with. So I don't know if your experience is this way, but I have a lot of women who are experiencing not necessarily the weight drop. They've just started. So the weight isn't coming yet, but they're feeling the bloating's going away. They're feeling it in their waist and their legs when they put on their pants. I tell them, I said, in women, the inches are going to go down first, and then the trigger of the weight will come typically last, because that's the one thing your body's trying to hang on to. lastly?
Well, I agree with you, and I also want to say that my current YouTube channel is actually mostly women. It's about 70. My demographic's about 75% female,
Mm-hmm.
and I have females on that channel that have lost over 100 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
That do OMAD and
Mm-hmm.
intermittent fasting 100%, and they're full of that channel. But not only that, but here's something that everybody has to understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your body naturally, people get so tied up in weight in the beginning.
Yeah.
You should definitely do measurements. Definitely do all that stuff. But you have a fat cell. And so your fat cell, as it starts to lose the fat in the cell, actually can replace the fat with water. So if you look at it like this is the cell,
Mm-hmm.
it can be half fat, half water.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because it's holding the spot thinking you're going to eat again. And you're going to add that fat right back. So it's like, let's just hold the cell open. But then after a while, it'll just release that water. And so you can have a week where you lose 10, 15 pounds. You're not really losing 15 pounds that week. You're just flushing the water out of some of those cells that you've been losing weight on.
Mm-hmm.
But the inches will go down.
Mm-hmm.
And I 100% agree with you. I think it happens first. Even my wife, the first she started doing 16/8, she was like, I'm feeling better, but I'm not losing any weight. She was, 140, 140, 140.
Yep.
And then now she's 125, so.
Yep. How long did
really
she
does.
find before she started to see it fall off the scale, you think? A month?
Probably a month. Yeah, probably a month, 4 weeks.
Yep. That's what I was. So with the people that follow you and the ladies that are following you on your channel, have any of them experienced any kind of nutrition deficit issues doing this? Are they having? I know in one of the videos I saw one of your more recent ones I haven't had anybody's hair fall out, nails get brittle. I find those issues come more in like keto diets and those type of things, and not necessarily an intermittent fasting style lifestyle. What do you think?
Well, I think one thing people have to understand too is for everybody, everything is always going to be different. There's no one size fits all. And when I say that, the reason I'm saying that is because if you're listening to this and you are in that obese category, then you don't need the same level of nutrition somebody that is at their normal range has, because your body fat actually has nutrition in it. And a lot of people don't want to talk about that aspect of it, but
Mm-hmm.
you can grossly undereat and your body will make up the nutrition it needs until you get in the normal range. Now, if you get to the normal range and your hair's falling out and something like that, I think that's a different story. And that's when you may be able to move from OMAD out of it. But I think that for me, I think some people will instantly say OMAD is too difficult. But what I call the warrior diet, or 20 hours of fasting, I think if you're having nutritional problems, the 20 hours of fasting with 4 hours is better if you're eating a good, healthy green meal for your first meal before you have your proteins and your fats and your whatever else is. If you're having a nice salad, you can have protein in it. I meant fats and carbs. But, if you're having a salad with some protein, like let's say 4 o'clock, and then you're eating your meal at, 6 o'clock, that is a balance where your body's going to take the nutrition from the food first. And it's the first thing you eat and use that. So if you're giving it the right nutrition there, and you can always multivitamin too, and just not even think about it too much, multivitamin with your meal.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I teach is the numbers won't lie. So I've always trended my progress, and I have 3 years of reports. I was a firefighter EMT until last year. And so we had to do blood work, and it was 4 pages of it. When you could see in my blood work where I had been in my old lifestyle. And as I moved through intermittent fasting and moved these things, I just remember the last visit I had with the occupational health doctor. He looked at me and he just kind of threw my paperwork. He goes, I don't even know why you're in here. He goes, you are so healthy. He said, he goes, I think the last time my bad cholesterol was elevated a little bit, but because my good cholesterol was so high, it was off the chart. He wasn't even concerned about the little elevation that I had in my bad. Otherwise, my ranges were spot on. And I totally just that's where the numbers won't lie to you if you're not sure if you're on the right track,
Yeah, no doubt. Every blood work and everything. Look, my blood pressure was high, and right now I think it was probably like, when I was 310, it was probably like not two. What am I talking about? It was like 150 over 100, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and now it's 130 over 65. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, what a huge difference that is. I mean, that's years to your life.
Yep.
That's, you know, and all of my blood work looks good. You know, and the people close to me too. My mom started doing it at 73 and she reversed a fatty liver.
Yep.
You know, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't lie. I'm telling you, it doesn't lie. And I get, in the beginning, I also think, I don't know what your thought is on this too, but I think it's becoming more accepted. You know, when I started it 2+ years ago, it seemed
Mm-hmm.
like people were like looking at me like I was crazy.
Uh-huh.
And now, maybe because I have results, but it seems like when I go places, people are like, hey, and they start asking me questions and they're more interested in learning about it than they were 2 years ago.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. I think culturally we're getting that way, and I think, um, especially as people know people are having success with it. I worked with a guy. His name's Chris too. He just turned 52, and I started working with him less than a year ago. And within a year of just intermittent fasting, and he's breaking his fast with bone broth and having salads and things that his wife they like together. But he has gotten off blood pressure medication that he's always been on. And
yeah.
so, I mean, I tell people, if you do nothing else, if you listen to nothing else I say about women's weight loss and you do this one thing, you can absolutely change everything. And I really believe it. I would like to see the other parts implemented, of course, but if you change nothing but did this one thing, you could absolutely transform your body. And you are a prime example of that.
100%, 100%. And the thing that I suggest too to people all the time, and people really are kind of taken aback by it, but your habits change. So,
Mm-hmm.
like when I first started out, okay, does it matter if I'm eating pizza and ice cream every single night? It may sound absurd to think you can do that and lose weight, but you can. And then as you start to lose weight, you don't want it as much. And
Mm-mm.
so then you find yourself in a situation where you're making healthier decisions and you're more comfortable making healthy decisions than you once were. You know, I'm not one that's ever going to preach any diet plan to
Mm-hmm.
anyone because I feel like each person is different and every diet plan has its flaws. I think keto has a lot of positive things, but I also don't think keto is perfect, you know? And so, and every one of them, carnivore on down the line, we can look at
Mm-hmm.
all has reasons why you're like, even vegetarians, which you would think is the healthiest, has tons of
Mm-hmm.
issues they have to deal with.
Yep.
And so for me, just stick to the whole foods, stick to the fruits and vegetables, stick to the organic stuff. As crazy as all that may seem, it's the
Yeah.
stuff. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and as we can see with our current situation in the world today, that
Yep.
kind of stuff does matter. And, you know, if you can be as close to natural as possible,
Mm-hmm.
you're good. But you don't even have to worry about whether or not you had too many carbs or too many fats or too,
Nope.
have it all.
Yeah.
Just have it all in a selected amount of time.
Yeah, yeah, and I have people all the time like, "Oh, do you count macros and micros?" I go, "Who has time for that?" No, I don't count macros and micros. But my tastes have changed in the last few years, and I'm like you, like I want to put these things in my body, and knowing that now that I've taken out all the additives and preservatives, all the laboratory made stuff that keeps you hungry, keeps you in nutritional deficiencies, and all these things that it's like an illegal drug in your head. Now that that's all been cleared out, I just don't want to go back to that. I don't have a
Yeah, well,
desire for it. I mean, I still desire things, but not to a point where I'm just going to go back to that complete lifestyle.
I think when you're doing OMAD, that meal is so important that
Mm-hmm.
you feel it. You feel like when you have something, when you go out and you just do something you shouldn't have,
Yep.
and you just feel, you don't feel as good the next day.
Yeah, you're
And,
sensitive to it. I think way more
yeah,
sensitive to it.
and
Yeah.
you're like, I don't want to do that again. You know what I mean? And so you want to
Mm-hmm.
start putting things in your body that your body wants, and it becomes more obvious. As crazy as it sounds, you fix your own diet by just doing it. It fixes itself. It's like the man. It really is like a magic pill. Honest to God, is a
Mm-hmm.
magic pill.
It is. And just this week with everything and all the events going on, I've dug up some research, and I already knew this anyway, but I like to have things that support what I say. So I've been telling everybody, I'm like, hey, if you're looking for a home remedy to boost your immune system, if you aren't already fasting, you may not want to do this, but I've done it before. But just if you want to clean out all your old cells and rebuild all your white blood cells from scratch, push yourself to do a 48-hour no calorie fast. and that does a reset for your immune system to build that up, and then your body can fight the infections, the bacteria, and all these things that are going on. If you can't do that, that's fine. Then work yourself into the 16-8, you know, and then the 16-8 and the 18, or the other one, the 6 hour.
Yeah,
So anyway, yeah, into an 8 hour eating window or a 6 hour eating window is ideal. But if you, I mean, you got to start somewhere. I don't suggest people go from 0 to 68 hours or 48 hours that quick. That's kind of, that's hard to do if you've never done even a 24-hour fast. So
you adjust so quick though. You know, I
yeah.
used to do 6 days of OMAD and 1 day of fasting, and I did that so I'd end up getting a 48-hour fast every single week. I would stop eating. Sunday would be my last meal, and I wouldn't eat till Tuesday night. And I did that during my weight loss journey for probably 8 months.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, without any thought at all. Now I backed off of it once I got to my ideal weight.
Yep.
And now I will. But if I'm busy, I still will skip a meal. I'll skip a dinner. You know, it doesn't happen very often now, but like during wrestling season when I'm coaching, you know, I got a match that night. I just don't even eat. I just go to the next day. It's no big deal.
Okay. Well, just to kind of wrap this up, unless you got any more things to put out there on intermittent fasting, because I just love hearing other people's perspective, even because people like you have had success. I've had weight to lose, but I haven't had 100 pounds. I had like 20 pounds to get off, but I was already having issues with it, you know, high blood pressure, that thing. But if anyone has been on the fence about trying intermittent fasting, what advice do you have to get them started, to get them over that hurdle? Like, yes, you can do it.
Yeah, first is, and I touched a little bit earlier, but I'll get into some real details. If you just start by saying, whatever I'm eating dinner, whether that be 6, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, everybody's different. Stop eating at that point and don't eat again until breakfast, and see how you feel. And I think if you just do that, you're going to lose some weight. You know, just because that little bit of food you stopped eating on will come off you, and then start moving your window down slowly to a 16-hour window. And once you settle into it, remember that it's not like you have to do OMAD tomorrow. But once you get in there and you've locked into a 16-8 plan, I think within a month you won't be hungry anymore. And then you can start thinking, do I end up in an 18-6 or a 20-4 or, you know, 1 meal a day? I think you can start making those adjustments. And also you don't feel like you have to, oh, well, you know, I watched, you know, Chris on your podcast, and he said he does OMAD, so I have to do OMAD. Look, you can do OMAD 3 days a week and 16-8, 4 days a week. And, you know, you can miss and match it however you want to. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, my 2 cents as somebody that's now been on both sides of the fence here, we were not meant to eat for 16 hours of our day. We just absolutely were not meant to eat. Our bodies do not work optimally when we've overfed it. And in the United States, 40% of us are obese, 30% of us are overweight. That means 70% of us are doing it wrong. Whether we want to admit it or not, 70% of us are doing it wrong. And so open up the door to some intermittent fasting and try it. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to see results. And one other quick note about it, you know, we hear all the time that diets fail, and they do. 98% of people that lose weight gain their weight back. I haven't gained a pound back, and I won't gain any weight back because it's not a diet.
Yeah.
This isn't a diet. It's just the way that I now live. And one other thing for your listeners to think about is, think about not only the money you're saving by not eating the 2 meals, but this is the one that gets me the most, is the time.
Yep.
I went from 0 steps. Well, I'd have probably walked 2,000 a day to 15,000. And that is replacing my breakfast time, my lunch time with walking. And that's the only major difference there. Then I started to get up even earlier and lift weights because it reversed my sleep apnea, and I'm getting better sleep. So I need less of it. Now I'm only sleeping 6 hours where I was sleeping 10 before. You know? And so it completely transforms your life.
Yeah.
It's just as simple as stop for a minute and don't eat too often.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I tell my ladies, hey, you'll see it in your pocketbook. You can buy the higher quality food when you want it. You're still going to spend less money. You're going to find other things to do on those breaks. Like on my lunch break, I work out on my lunch break. That's just what I do. You know, I'm in a position where I I can do that because primarily what I do is outside. But it's just my whole lifestyle's flipped, and it's easy to keep my weight in check now. It's not hard. If I screw up, I don't beat myself up. I know a lot of ladies beat themselves up, but you don't have to do that anymore. And then honestly, the meal prepping should kind of go out the window, because you shouldn't have to really be prepping a whole lot of food to eat. I mean,
Yeah,
it should be fairly simple.
I have a friend that's 50 and he's in great shape. And, you know, he coached with me for a couple of years. He's the track coach at my school. And he preps everything. He eats 6 times a day, and he preps it on Sundays.
That's exhausting.
Yeah, look, he preps on Sundays, and it takes him 8 hours to get his entire week planned. And he looks great, you know, he really does. But it's like I said to him, you know, after I lost weight, I'm like, look, I look as good as you. And I don't do any of that. I just show up the one time I need to eat, you know.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely life-changing. And to your note about working out, that's what happened to me in the morning. I had the goal of 10,000, and I started crushing that, and I was getting close to 20. And so now I go in the mornings before school and lift weights.
Oh, wow.
And that transformed it kind of neat. My whole wrestling team now shows up to lift weights with me, which is weird, you know, because I'm like, guys, I'm lifting in the morning, and now all of a sudden kids show up to do that. So and then, by the way, the people at the school walking now during their lunch, people are doing intermittent fasting around me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know how many people I've affected on YouTube, but I know in my own personal life, there's at least 40 people that turn to me for intermittent fasting that have changed their lives around. So it's growing. Get on the bandwagon. What are you waiting for? Like, this is really changing people's lives.
I know, you have nothing to buy. There's no product to be sold here, no food, no nothing. And I have a couple ladies that are teachers, and so this is going to encourage them too, because I do have one that pretty much does the Nomad, and she's had some good results so far. She comes on and off of it, but I think this is going to encourage her to keep on. Usually stress is what relapses the women that I find. So, but Chris, where can everyone find you? I know I found you on Instagram. I know you're on YouTube. So tell everybody where you're at.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube. Instagram and YouTube both are Taking Down Fat with CDub. So, you know, you can just look that up real quick, and you can either look it up all together or with spaces, and it'll come up. And then, you know, I also am pretty active in a group called the Fast Club on Facebook. I don't know if you've ever heard of that group, but they're a really good, you know, a group. If you just look up the Fast Club, it'll come up, and it's run by a guy named Nurse Eric, and he has a YouTube channel too, but he's not really active on YouTube. But he is a nurse, and he has probably 12,000 intermittent fasters in that Facebook group, and they ask questions. And so I'll get on there and answer people's questions and talk to people. But what I found there more than anything is and this is something that's interesting that we can briefly touch on. I know you got to get rolling, but in the current thing that we're going through with this virus, social not going to be people as often for a while. And having a network of people that support you, like the Fast Club, is huge, because you can hop on there and instantly have a conversation with somebody, and they can walk you through what's going on with them and fasting, and give you some things. And a lot of before and after, you know, people post their stuff up there, which is inspiring. So, and if you do go to my Instagram, you can see my before and after stuff, and my YouTube channel and all that good stuff. Because it is, if you see my before and after, you're blown away. I mean, 310 pounds to 185 pounds is a lot.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I'm going to put everything in the description of this podcast so people can find you and see all the transformation. And if they've got questions beyond what I can answer, they can, of course, go to someone who's, yes, I'm experiencing it. I haven't lost a whole person size though. You know what I mean? But I have had success, and it works no matter where you are on your journey. So but Chris, I thank you so much for coming in on here. I know we've never met, but I just really appreciate your time and your experience.
Okay, anytime.
And like I said, if I can help you somehow, let me know. But I'm going to continue to follow you on your journey and see what happens.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, maybe we can interview you for my channel one day.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I do YouTube, but I'm more versed in Instagram and Facebook, but I do have a YouTube channel. But it's hard to be everywhere at the same time, you know.
Now, you really have to pick one platform and kind of get your word out in that. And for whatever reason, talking's always been my thing. So, you know, I was like, hey, I can get on a video and talk.
That's how I am. I like this kind of stuff. I do better with this kind of stuff. So, yeah.
All right. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks,
And
Chris.
anytime,
Stay safe, and thank you for doing what you're doing for the kiddos. And we'll see you. Hopefully, I'll probably bring you in on another podcast at some point if you don't mind.
yeah, anytime, just hit me up.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye bye.